Okay, this is the practice problem video for Algebra 1 5.3, slope or rate of change. Okay, so the first four problems here, we are just determining if the line is positive, negative, zero, or undefined, and then finding the slope if it does exist. So hopefully we can recognize right away whether or not a line is positive or negative. Okay, remember I said if you put a ball closest on the left-hand side, would you have to push it up or could you let it roll down? This one I would have to push the ball up, so it is positive. Okay, whereas number three, if I put a ball closest to the left-hand side, that would just roll down, so it's negative. Okay, we can also show positive and negatives based on how we look at our points. So let's do that. If I want to go from this point here to this point, I need to go up 2, so up is positive, and to the right 3, which is positive, so that would be my slope would be 2 over 3. Okay, make sure you put it's the change in y, so it's the change in up or down over the change in right or left. Okay, so keep that straight. Okay, now could I go from the top point here to the bottom point? Well, sure. If I go down 2 and then back 3, right, down is negative to left is negative. Well, that would be negative 2 over negative 3. And we know a negative divided by a negative is a positive, so this fraction reduces down to a positive 2/3. Okay, how about number 2? Well, if we look at this in terms of rise over run, we're going up 1 over 0. We can't divide by 0. Type that in. It's going to in your calculator. It's going to say undefined or error. The answer here is undefined. Okay, vertical lines undefined. Horizontal lines are 0. Right? If you think about slope, like going skiing. Right? You can't go skiing if there's no slope. Right? Okay, number 3. Okay, to go from the bottom to the, from the top point to the bottom one, I'm gonna have to go down 2 and to the right 4. So this is going to be, my m value is going to be negative 2 over positive 4, which would reduce down to a negative 1/2. Okay, so that's my m value, that's my slope. All right, number 4, there's a few different options here, and we have to find the points. Okay, and the reason why we have to find the points, or the appropriate points, it's going to make it a lot easier on ourselves if we find where the line crosses at these perfect little T spots. Okay, so like right here, it looks like it crosses right there perfectly. I wouldn't want to put a point here or there or anywhere else except for right here because it crosses perfectly. Right, you could, but you're not going to have an even number, so it's going to be a lot harder. Okay. Another point I could find would be right here. Also maybe right here. So let's take a look. How do we go from one point to the next? I'm going to start with this y-intercept point right here. And I'm going to go up 3 over 2. Up is positive, to the right is positive, so my slope is 3 over 2. Okay, now could I go from this point to this point? Sure, that would be down 3, back 2, which of course would reduce to a positive 2/3. We get the same answer. Okay. Why don't I find your points here? It looks like here's a perfect little spot here, and how about here? Why don't you guys go ahead and do those? I think you guys have set you up for those. All right, these ones are a little bit more difficult, right? We can find slope a few different ways. One being just looking at a graph, doing rise over run. Or if we're given points, we need to know this formula, right? If we have 2 points, we need to know that we can find the slope by doing y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay, so I would say we should label these points. We have a, we have an x and a y value for both of these. All right, Well, this one's first, so why don't we just call this one x1, y1, and these over here x2, y2. All right, now you just follow the formula. It says y2. y2 is 5 minus, what's y1? -1. Put it in there. Okay, x2, 4 minus x2 is -2. And you go ahead and you just solve here. Make sure you put these as negatives and negatives, so you remember to change the sign, right? Subtracting a negative is the same as adding a positive, okay? And it's going to be the same is true down here. So we have 5 plus 1, which is 6. 4 plus 2 is 6. This reduces down to 1. Okay. How about I'll do number 8 so we can still see our formula. Okay. I'm going to label here x1, y1, x2, y2. Okay. So I'm going to have y2 minus y1 over x2 is 1 minus -9. Make sure you change that to positive. 1 minus 1 is 0. 1 plus 9 is 10. 0 divided by 10 is 0. So my slope is 0. So this would be a horizontal line. Okay. Remember, you can divide numbers by 0, but you can't divide by 0. So if 0 is in the denominator, it's going to be undefined. If 0 is in the numerator, the answer is going to be 0. Just use your calculator. Okay, I got a few more examples of these, so if you guys need more help with that, just come see me on the Google Meet if you need to. All right, let's look at a few more. Okay, number 13, we're still just looking for the slope. All right, it says Mr. Brust has 50 algebra books and he hands out 2 books every 3 days, okay? What is changing? He's handing out 2 books every 3 days. So my slope, if I were to write this, you don't really have to do this. What we're doing, minus 2 books every 3 days, this would be the linear equation. But what is the slope or the rate of change? It's the number in front of x. So this would be -2/3. Okay. Number 14, I'll do that one too. Bob makes $40 a week. He already has $200. So what's changing? He's making $40 every 1 week. So this would be y is equal to 40 over 1x plus 200. What's the rate of change? It's going to be 40. You can put over 1, right? Money over weeks. So your slope or rate of change is 40. All right. Number 15, super easy. What's the slope? Remember, it's just the value in front of x. So it's just going to be 3 over 2. All right, 16. So it's just the number in front of x. Okay. All right, 17 and 18. So remember, you can think about slope as in the change in y over the change in x. So how am I going from 0 to 1? Plus 1, 1 to 2, plus 1. How am I going from 2 to 11? Plus 9, 11 to 20, plus 9. Remember, it's the change in y, so these go on top. This goes in the denominator. So this can be 9 over 1 or 9. So there's your slope. Okay, I'll do 18 as well. How do I go from 0 to 2? Plus 2. 2 to 4, plus 2. And then y, plus 1. 1 to 2 is plus 1. So remember, it's change in y over the change in x. It's y over x. Change in y over the change in x. So this is going to be slope of 1 over 2. All right, just a few more practice problems for finding slope given 2 points. We're given a graph. And a little bit more practice with these. So make sure you understand how to do these. Remember, it's the change in y over the change in x. So how do you go from 3 to 5, 5 to 7. It should be consistent. Same thing as y's. How do you go from 18 to 25? How do you go from 25 to 32? Okay. All right. Number 25. Let's see. Firing a piece of pottery in a kiln takes place at different temperatures for different amounts of time. Okay. The graph shows the temperature in the kiln while firing a piece of pottery. Okay. Note it was preheated. That's why it's not starting at 0. It's starting right here at 250 degrees. All right, so let's take a look. A, determine the time interval during which the temperature in the kiln showed the greatest rate of change. Greatest rate of change. So where you're looking for where on the graph was the steepest part. Okay, where was the incline or decline steepest? Okay, and B, determine the time interval during which the temperature in the kiln showed the least rate of change. So that would be kind of like thinking about where's that slope, right? Where's that slope the least steep? So up here, we're looking for like a super steep one. Over here, we're kind of looking for a flat. So I'll leave those up to you. If you need a little bit more help with that, come see me. I think I've gone through enough of these. So give these practice problems a shot. Need more help, come see me. Good luck.